welcome to Yoga Rocks Box. Our first teacher of the season, Melanie Cooper's here. We had a really nice retreat with stunning weather for May, not a cloud in the sky all week, and it's been very lovely. And we're going to talk a little bit about Yoga Nidra, because a lot of people are doing a lot of Yoga Nidra, and it's oh well, Mel's going to tell us about it actually. So Mel, tell us just practically what Yoga Nidra is.
Okay, well, Yoga Nidra is often translated as yogic sleep or sometimes psychic sleep. It's a practice that gets you into a state that's very similar to meditation, but the main difference between Yoga Nidra and meditation that you might think of sitting up is that you do it in a more sleeping state, so it's a different state of consciousness that you get into. And ultimately, it's about relaxation and rejuvenation, but it's also much more than that. It's about getting in touch with your ability to have visions, to have experiences, and to experience different states of consciousness.
And why would you do it?
Well, there are different yogic tools that you can use. You can do asana, physical practice, you can do meditation, and Yoga Nidra is another way of doing it. It's good to do in the middle of the day to rejuvenate yourself, and it's also good to do just as you're going to sleep at night. And then the idea is that you can get to go into your sleep in a conscious state, so when you're sleeping you're lucid, and then all kinds of amazing things can happen.
So it's a way of going into an interesting state for napping then?
Yes, well, the idea is for Yoga Nidra that you're not quite awake and you're not quite asleep. So it's that moment when you're falling asleep, just before you fall asleep, you learn to become consciously aware of that moment and then continue. So you're kind of like surfing the interface, really. It's about the interface between being awake and being asleep.
And how would you do it? It's got different phases that you work through. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yes, so it goes through phases that go gradually more and more subtle, and actually you can compare them to the koshas, the yogic koshas. The idea is that there's the physical kosha, the manamaya kosha, and that corresponds to the first stage where you travel around your body holding your awareness in different parts of the body. And the first thing that does is it brings your consciousness back in. And generally, normal life, our consciousness is going out, we're talking to people, we're doing things, we're thinking about things, and it's all outwards. And it's very rarely we take the time to come back in, and that's quite a powerful thing in itself, just to center yourself and ground yourself. Also, to get into really relaxed states and expanded states of consciousness, you need to get into a place where you're free from your body, really. And it sounds a bit paradoxical, but by focusing on your body, you can then become free from your body. And when you're lying down, because you have to do it lying down, then there's a neurochemical change that happens in the brain that you can go into a different state. So that physical, focusing on the physical body, it does that. It draws you back inwards, and then it helps you get away from your body. And actually also in that phase, people can quite often have visions of their physical body. And there's Taoist meditations that are very similar actually, that you have visions of your own internal organs and the muscles and the bones, and that can be quite cool. And also just actually put you in touch with your intuition, that when you're in that state of being very relaxed and very open, but at the same time very centered, and you're not really trying to do anything, that's when things can happen and you can have real flashes of inspiration or vision about your life. So that's the first stage, the physical stage, and then we get more subtle and we go to the stage of focusing on the breath, and that's the pranamaya kosha, kosha model. And so we count down the breath, normally start at 21 or 31, and we count down through the breath. And the idea is that puts you in a very deep state of relaxation. And again, that's used in lots of different, like hypnosis, self-hypnosis, they use counting down through the breath. And the idea of this stage of counting down through the breath is that you get so that you're into this stage where you're surfing the interface. And so the idea, if you completely fall asleep, then obviously you're not doing it, you're just sleeping and snoring probably. But if you stay completely awake, you're also not doing it. You have to be in that place where you're surfing. And those interfaces, it's a bit like sunrise and sunset. They're very special, magical times. And actually you can really see it here, especially by the sea with the mountains. You get all the elements of the earth and the water and the fire and the sun, and it's just very magical and very special. You can feel that there's kind of possibilities really at those times, and as well at the equinoxes, at spring and autumn, when the seasons are changing. That's when traditionally the magical rituals and spells were cast, and things could happen that are a bit out of the ordinary. So that's the counting down the breath phase. It's really about learning to serve that interface. And then the third stage, which really corresponds to the third and the fourth koshas, the Annamaya kosha and the Vijnanamaya kosha. In that stage you're focusing on images. And in the school that I follow, first of all we focus on images from the day. And the idea is that you allow the images to come, and you're not feeling emotions, you're not analysing what's happened, you're certainly not judging what's happened, you just let the images come. And again, that's a process of drawing back in. And also the idea is partly that as you review it, you have a chance to let it go. That sometimes things can happen and they get lodged in our subconscious. We're not really consciously thinking about them, but they're kind of niggling away at us somewhere in the depths of our subconscious. So in reviewing things, you can just let them go. Also the idea of reviewing the life, and this comes to a bit part of the Yoga Nidra as maybe a bit more esoteric, but there's another transition between waking and sleep, between night and day, but also between life and death. And ultimately the idea is that you can come to your death clear and aware and lucid, and whatever happens, whatever death means to you, you can do it in a conscious way, which I think would be a really beautiful thing. So it's about becoming clear about your life and letting go any baggage that you might have. And also, when you're reviewing the images of the day, it helps to take you deeper into this state. So you're very, very relaxed, very deep, but also very aware. Your consciousness is very purified. So then the final stage really is going through just allowing random images to come up. And that's really the final sheath, the more subtle part of the practice, the Annamaya kosha, about bliss. And the idea is the ultimate idea of yoga really, that you get to a stage where you're completely in your center, so you're not being affected by your cultural conditioning, your own emotional baggage. All of that stuff is out of the way, that you can just be completely clear, flowing with whatever's happening. Your creativity is flowing, your inspiration, your vision, it's all there. You're completely absorbed, completely in the moment. There's no mind chatting away behind you. And that's really the most powerful, most amazing state that you can get into. So yeah, that's the stages of the Yoga Nidra.
So even though it's quite a simple practice, it's got a lot going on.
It's very powerful.
And
Yes.
a nice way to try and connect with the koshas, because sometimes they seem very subtle, you can read about them and they're quite difficult to connect with. But in a way, this is a good way almost to start learning about them through the double process.
Yes,
learn about the koshas and practice Yoga Nidra and see the different parts.
Yeah.
And the imagery in front of the eyes, is there a way that it's, because at first it sounds quite magical, that the images appearing in front of your eyes. Is there a way to relax and to help that to come?
Well, one thing that you can do when you close your eyes and look to your third eye, the area in between your eyebrows and the top of the nose, normally when you close your eyes you can see a blackness, and quite often in that blackness there's points of light, and sometimes you can watch those points of light basically. And sometimes they're very faint, but sometimes they can be really strong. Sometimes they organise themselves into patterns and go around, and you can just watch that, and as you're watching that, then other images can start to come in. Because it's one of those things that if you try and make it happen, it's not going to happen. So it's like you have to create the conditions that it can happen in, and then you just allow it to happen.
And you think with time, with practice, this all becomes deeper and stronger.
Yes, it's one of those things that at first it probably won't happen, or maybe you just get flashes of it at first, and the more you practice, the more it's going to come.
And it's a nice thing to practice, isn't it?
It's a lovely thing to
So
practice.
nice.
It is really nice.
Yeah, at the moment I've been studying Yoga Nidra a bit. I'm having to do a lot of it. Very nice. And can it help you with stuff like, say, coffee or cigarettes or something you wanted to give up? Is it a tool for that or not?
Yeah, I think it could be.
Yeah.
I think, I mean, it's such a beautiful thing to do, like you say, that when you're feeling a bit down, or when you're feeling, maybe you have that feeling you need a coffee, then you can have your Yoga Nidra instead, because it does, it's really rejuvenating for the body. So it's something that gives you that buzz and that lift, but it's a really beautiful spiritual thing to do as well. So obviously, coffee and cigarettes, you might have that buzz, but you also have the crash later on. So this is something that gives you a lift with no...
And better than a nap?
I think so, yeah. I mean, sometimes you will just fall asleep and nap, and maybe if you're really tired, maybe that's what you really need. But yeah, there's something about that interface. So you're not falling asleep, and there's a heaviness, and there's a lack of consciousness that comes with sleep. But you don't have that heaviness. You still keep that really light, lucid feeling without the heaviness of sleep. So sometimes if you have an afternoon nap, you can come awake and you're really like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm not, now I feel like I'm, even tired. So it can give you a lightness. The other thing actually that it can do is it can help you become aware when you fall asleep, and you can go into lucid dreaming, and that's really cool. And you become, so that's when you're dreaming, but you're aware that you're dreaming, but you're still dreaming. So then you can start to direct your dreams, and then you can do anything you want.
You can
It could be really cool.
And how long, last question, how long is a good time to do Yoga Nidra for?
I'd say 20 minutes. That's a good time. 20 minutes.
You don't need much time, do you?
No. It's enough time to go really deep with it.
So yeah, more and more of our teachers seem to be putting Yoga Nidra into their retreats. And this week's been really lovely, really nice. So there you go, there's all your Yoga Nidra information from Mel. Yeah, that's all from Yoga Rocks today. Thank you, Mel.
Thank you.